Hi everyone, my name is Emily, and I'm 35 years old. I live in Denver, Colorado, in a small house I bought after everything I'm about to tell you went down. I run my own graphic design business, which I built from scratch, and I'm proud of it. But this story isn't about my career, it's about my family, the betrayal that broke my heart, and how I fought back to find justice. It's raw, it's messy, and it's real. So, grab a coffee, get comfortable, and let me take you through it. Growing up, my family wasn't the warm, fuzzy kind you see in movies. We lived in a suburban neighborhood just outside Denver, in a beautiful old house with a big yard and a porch where we'd have summer barbecues. My dad was a hardworking man, always tinkering in the garage or telling stories about his childhood. My mom, though, she was different. She had this need to control everything, to be the center of attention. And then there was my sister, Laura, 2 years younger than me, who was always mom's favorite. Laura was the golden child, quiet, obedient, the perfect daughter. I was the opposite, independent, a little rebellious, always asking questions. Mom called me difficult, but I just wanted to be myself. The favoritism started early. I remember my 10th birthday vividly. All I wanted was a new bike. Laura had gotten one the year before, a shiny red one with streamers. Mine was a rusty hand-me-down from a neighbor, but I made do. On my birthday, I ran downstairs, heart pounding with hope. But there was no bike, just a book on drawing. I loved art, so it was nice, but it wasn't what I'd dreamed of. When I asked Mom about the bike, she said, "Emily, we can't afford 2 new bikes. Laura needed hers for her friends. Yours is fine." Later that day, Laura got a new dress for no reason at all, and Mom fussed over how pretty she looked. I stood there in my faded jeans, feeling like I didn't exist. That was just one moment, but it set the tone. In high school, when I won an art contest, Mom brushed it off, saying, "It's just a hobby, Emily." But when Laura got straight A's, we had a big family dinner to celebrate. When I was bullied at school and told Mom, she said, "Maybe you did something to deserve it." But when Laura had a fight with a friend, Mom was on the phone with the friend's mom, fixing it. It was like Laura could do no wrong, and I could do no right. By the time I went to college, I couldn't wait to leave. I worked part-time jobs to pay my tuition because Mom and Dad said they couldn't afford to help. Laura, of course, went to a local college, lived at home, and had her tuition fully paid. I moved 2 states away, determined to make my own way. Fast forward to my 30s. I'd moved back to Denver and built a successful graphic design business. I worked with clients across the country, designing logos, websites, and branding for small businesses. It was grueling late nights, endless revisions, but I loved it. I'd done it all on my own, without a dime from my family. My apartment in a trendy part of Denver was my sanctuary, filled with art supplies and plants, a reflection of the life I'd created. Laura took a different path. She became a teacher, a job Mom approved of, and married Tom, a kind but unassuming accountant. They had 2 kids, Sophie and Ethan, and Mom was over the moon. She'd post pictures of them on Facebook, bragging about her perfect grandchildren. Me? I was single, no kids, and while I was happy, there was always this nagging feeling that I wasn't enough in Mom's eyes. Our relationship as sisters was strained. We'd see each other at holidays or family events, but it was always tense. Laura would make snide comments about my fancy city life, and Mom would chime in with, "Emily, when are you going to settle down?" It was like they couldn't accept that I was happy being me. Then, everything changed when Dad got sick. Dad was diagnosed with lung cancer at 68. It was a gut punch. He'd always been the strong one. The one who'd sneak me extra cookies or tell me I could be anything I wanted. I drove 2 hours every weekend to see him, sometimes during the week for doctor's appointments. I'd sit with him, help with his medications, or just talk about old times. Mom and Laura lived closer, Laura just 15 minutes away, but they were always busy. Laura had her teaching job and kids, and Mom was caught up in her church groups and social clubs. I remember one night in the hospital when Dad was in pain. I stayed up all night, holding his hand, making sure he was comfortable. The next morning, Mom and Laura showed up, and Mom said, "Emily, you look exhausted. Go home, we'll take over." It was like my efforts didn't count unless they fit her narrative. As Dad's condition worsened, Mom took over everything: his care, his finances, his decisions. Dad was too weak to argue, and Laura just went along with it. I tried to get involved, But Mom would snap, "Emily, you're not here all the time. You don't understand." It hurt, but I didn't want to fight while Dad was dying. When Dad passed away, I was heartbroken. I'd spent so much time with him in those final months, and losing him felt like losing a piece of myself. At the reading of the will, I expected the family home, our beautiful old house with the porch and the memories, to be split between Laura and me. Dad had always said it would be ours to share or sell. But when the lawyer read that the house was left solely to Laura, I felt like I'd been slapped. I looked at Mom, who wouldn't meet my eyes, and Laura, who seemed surprised but pleased. I got some money, sure, but the house? That was my home too. I'd spent years helping with repairs, painting walls, planting flowers in the garden. It wasn't just about the money, it was about fairness, about what Dad had promised. After the reading, I confronted Mom. Why did Dad leave the house only to Laura? He always said it would be for both of us. Mom sighed, her voice dripping with condescension. "Emily, your father changed his mind. Laura has a family. She needs the house. You have your own life." "But that's not fair," I said, my voice shaking. "I love that house too. I grew up there just as much as Laura did. Life isn't fair, Emily. You need to accept it." But I couldn't. Something felt off, like there was more to the story. That's when I decided to fight back. I started by talking to Aunt Mary, Dad's sister. She'd always been close to him and knew his wishes. When I told her about the will, she was stunned. "That doesn't sound like your father at all. He always wanted you girls to share everything equally." She suggested I look into whether the will was properly executed, if Dad was of sound mind when he changed it. I hired a lawyer, dipping into my savings to cover the costs. It was a risk, but I had to know the truth. During the legal process, I got access to Dad's old computer. He'd given me the password years ago, and I still remembered it. What I found made my stomach churn. There were emails from Mom to Dad, pressuring him to change the will. She wrote things like, "Emily doesn't visit enough. She doesn't care about us like Laura does, and Laura needs the house for her family. Emily's fine on her own." There were also emails from Laura, saying she deserved the house, that I'd abandoned the family by moving away. I felt sick. How could they do this? Dad was so weak in his final months, barely able to think straight, and Mom had taken advantage of that. Laura, too, she'd gone along with it, feeding Mom's narrative. Then I found something even worse. Bank statements showing Mom had been taking money from Dad's accounts without his knowledge. Small amounts at first, but over time, it added up to over $50,000. Money meant for his medical care, his savings, our inheritance. When I confronted Mom, she denied everything. "That money was for the family," she snapped. "I used it to take care of your father." "But it wasn't yours to take," I said. "You did it behind his back." Laura, when I showed her the emails, claimed Mom must have written them from her account. But I knew better. The emails were from Laura's personal account, and while Mom might have influenced her, Laura had made her own choices. The trial was one of the hardest things I've ever done. It dragged on for months, draining my savings and my energy. Mom and Laura's lawyer painted me as the black sheep, the daughter who left her family for her career. They brought up old stories, like how I moved out at 18 or missed a Christmas because of a work deadline, to make me look selfish. But I had evidence. The earlier version of the will, where Dad left the house to both of us. The emails showing Mom's manipulation. The bank statements proving her theft. I also had witnesses. My best friend Sarah, who'd seen me drive to Dad's every weekend, my colleague Mike, who'd covered for me at work so I could be with Dad, and Aunt Mary, who testified that Dad wanted the house shared. The turning point came when we presented the bank statements. The judge ordered a full audit of Dad's accounts, and it revealed Mom had taken even more than I thought, nearly $80,000 over several years. The courtroom was silent as the numbers were read out. Laura looked like she'd been punched. She had no idea. During a break, Laura approached me, tears streaming down her face. "Emily, I didn't know about the money. Mom told me you were just trying to take the house." I was angry, but I saw the pain in her eyes. "Laura, Mom's been playing us against each other our whole lives. She favored you because you did what she wanted. I didn't, and she punished me for it. Why would she do this to Dad?" Laura whispered. "I don't know," I said. Maybe she felt entitled. Maybe she was scared of losing control. But it's wrong, and we need to stop her. Laura hesitated, then nodded. "What can I do?" "Testify," I said. Tell the truth about Mom's control, about how she pressured you." She agreed. And her testimony changed everything. Laura admitted that Mom had badmouthed me for years, that she'd manipulated Dad when he was vulnerable, that she'd promised Laura the house if she sided against me. The judge listened intently, his face unreadable. When the judge delivered his ruling, I held my breath. He declared the will invalid due to undue influence from Mom. The house was to be sold, with the proceeds split equally between Laura and me. Mom was ordered to repay the money she'd taken, which would come out of her share of Dad's estate. It was a victory, but it didn't feel like one. I'd exposed Mom's betrayal, but it came at the cost of our family. Mom was furious, refusing to speak to me. Laura was torn. She felt betrayed by Mom, but guilty for her own role. After the trial, I sold my share of the house and bought a small place in Denver, closer to my work. It's not as grand as the family home, but it's mine, filled with light and color and the life I've built. I took some time off to travel, to heal from the emotional toll of the last few years. Laura and I started talking again slowly. We both realized Mom had pitted us against each other, and we're trying to rebuild something. It's not perfect, but it's a start. Mom, though, she never apologized. She still plays the victim, blaming everyone else for her choices. Looking back, I realize revenge isn't as sweet as people think. Winning the case gave me justice, but it didn't erase the pain. What helped was letting go of the need for Mom's approval, of the hope that she'd change. I found family in my friends, in my partner, Alex, who stood by me through every court date and tearful night. This experience taught me that you can't choose your family, but you can choose how they affect you. I chose to let go of the bitterness and build a life that's mine. I hope my story resonates with someone out there, maybe someone feeling trapped by a toxic family. You're not alone, and you're stronger than you know. Sometimes, fighting back is the only way to find peace. So this is my story. If you like the story, then hit the like button and subscribe our channel for daily new revenge stories.